We're going to talk about holistic wellness for addiction recovery. So, when thinking about holistic wellness for addiction recovery, we need to consider the whole person. And transformation happens on the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual levels. So, today we're going to talk about the physical level. Now, the physical level is how is your body feeling? Simple question, right? How are you feeling right now, physically? Maybe take a minute and think about that. If you like to, you could take out a journal or a piece of paper and write down what you're feeling today. Make this a little journaling exercise. Just think about how you're feeling physically right now. And no judgment here. It is what it is. We're at where we're at today in this moment. You may come back to this at some other point and be in a totally different space. All right, so now having some idea about how you feel physically right now, today, in your body, starting to look at that in many different ways. So, first, looking at it physically when we're separating from the substance. So, we're still active in our addiction, we're still using and our drug of choice or substance of choice, whatever you like to call it, that's going to affect us physically. It's going to affect how we're sleeping, it's going to affect how we're eating, if we're exercising or not, if we're having all types of health issues that start to happen when you start to abuse a substance in an unhealthy way. So looking at that piece of it. And then there's also the piece of it when we're first putting the substance down and some of the withdrawal and some of the things that the body physically starts to go through when you're doing that kind of thing. So it depends on what you're withdrawing from. You may potentially need some sort of medical detox, some sort of intervention, some sort of treatment in a medical facility. If not, maybe you just need a rehab or you need some type of place where you can just be watched to make sure nothing happens with you physically from a medical standpoint. And that's really important. It's really important that people get the proper care that they need before seeking out somebody like myself who can help you from more of a holistic standpoint. So it's very important that we make sure that we are taking care of ourselves physically if we need medical services. Very, very important. And that can also occur as you separate from the substance and you get a little bit of time and you're sober. Maybe you're going a long day to day, and then all of a sudden, bam, something happens to you physically. You go, what the heck is that? It could be something from the active addiction potentially, or it could be some other kind of thing. So, starting to look at these things and starting to pay attention to these things, making sure we're taking care of ourselves physically. So, when those things start to occur, you can start to look at how are you feeling today? How are things going? Are you up to date on all of your annual physicals and all those kinds of exams that we need to get based on, our gender, sometimes family of origin kind of conditions, or just things you have going on, if you have a type of genetic kind of things happening, making sure you're up to date with all that stuff. And if you are, starting then to look at, well, how am I eating? How am I physically feeding my body? Am I eating not so good foods every day? You know, am I eating very healthy foods? Am I not getting enough of a certain nutrient? You can start to look at that kind of piece of it. Maybe it's a nutrient kind of thing that may be going on. And just looking at all this stuff, just observing it, not again, like we do with meditation that I talk about a lot, not judging ourselves, just noticing where we are, because it's where we are. It's where we are today. So looking at that piece of it, you can also start to look at how you're sleeping, looking at your rest, because that can affect you physically. You can also start to look at your exercise level. Are you moving? Are you not moving? Maybe there's some type of reason why you are or are not moving. Um, it could also be maybe your exercise level has changed. Maybe it's increased suddenly, and now all of a sudden you feel really, really off and something's not right. You've started a new diet or exercise program potentially, and maybe things just physically are feeling a little weird right now, not what you're used to, could be for the good or could also potentially not be too good. So starting to look at that and making sure that you're taking care of yourself. You are eating enough food for the kind of work or exercise that you're doing, or you're cutting back if you need to, but cutting back in a healthy way. So starting to look at all that stuff. And you can also look at your work as well. If you have a very physical job, or maybe you have a very sedentary job, you sit at a desk all day, starting to look at all that kind of stuff to really see if that may be affecting you physically. I know recently I was walking around at work and I had a little physical thing happen to me, and I had to look at what I did that day. It made sense when I looked at it, and it made sense too because my exercise level has been a little bit low lately. So it all kind of made sense to me. And I was able to then proceed and do what I needed to do. And felt better in a few days. I felt fine. So making sure we're looking at all that kind of stuff. And if you like this journaling practice, write this stuff down, journal about it. Write it, see where you are today. Do it for maybe a week or two, and then maybe compare days where you felt a little bit better, or maybe felt a little worse, and maybe trying to see some patterns here. Right. So taking care of ourselves physically is really, really important. It is very important to make sure that, especially those of us who are in recovery, getting into recovery from addiction, that we are paying attention to our nutrition and our exercise and our sleep and our overall, just how are we feeling physically today. It's very, very important for us to notice all those things and then to make adjustments where we need to. I know a lot of people, myself in particular, when I stopped using my substance of choice, my eating went out of control because I was, again, still trying to kind of numb out, but maybe with something else. So maybe the addiction shifts a little bit, and you could potentially have some things going on where we're eating too much or too little, or maybe we're exercising too much, or maybe we're participating in other things that are just making us not feel very good physically. And it's just, again, something to look at, something to notice, journal about, talk to me about it. I mean, I'm here for you. So all of these things we want to make sure that we're looking at and we're paying attention to them. And then we're getting whatever kind of care that we need. We're resting if we need to rest. A lot of us go, 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 go. Rest is okay. It is totally okay to take a break. I can't do this right now. I just need to lie down for an hour. That is so, so good to take care of yourself in that way. So a lot of this also goes back to self-care in that same kind of vein, but just making sure that we're looking at this one level of holistic wellness, because these four different levels all work together. So if one is off balance, the other ones are also going to be off a little bit. So if you are interested in changing, you're interested in doing something different, what's working, what's not, this isn't working for you anymore, I should say. It's just not the way you want to live your life. And you do want to change, you do want to transform things. Start looking at it from a physical standpoint and see where you are. See if you're still, maybe you're not actively participating in one form of your addiction, but maybe there's another form that has popped up and we need to look at it. Just being aware of these things is really critical. It's really the first step in really creating an overall wellness plan for your life. So you're able to integrate all these things and then look at it holistically and look at it in the big picture and say, hey, am I really hitting all this stuff? Where am I at with this? Where am I at with that? So, and as always, meditation is a great way to help yourself physically. It is a great way to have the body rest and provide a little bit of rest and a little bit of just downtime where you don't really have to do much. You can just be. And a lot of people think meditation is more the mental, emotional, spiritual kind of stuff. It also does help you physically. It really, really does. The act of just being able to rest and just the brain doesn't have to really do anything right now. That does physically help you to take some sort of rest. So I hope this helped you a little bit. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out to me. You can go to my website, thepeacewecrave.com, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. Take care.